morning, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Live Stamping with Jeannie. I had a fabulous class yesterday, and I owe it all to my sideline, Ruth Tinkham. She is so incredibly talented. I can't even say enough. But I know that she has been terribly busy, so she hasn't updated lately. But if you check out her Facebook page, it's Stampscapes with Ruth. Scapes with SCAPES with Ruth, and she is just so talented, and she shared these cards with me, and I said, oh my goodness, I love glitter. Everybody loves glitter. Hi Kathy, good to see you. Welcome. These cards are so fabulous. I've been doing a little bit of a series about paper cutting and basics. Well, we're going to go a little bit out of the way, but not really, because I am going to show you everything that there is to know about glitter. We used several techniques yesterday, and I'm going to show them all to you. I may be missing some. I don't know if you know how much I love glitter, but there's even my shirt today. I don't know if you can see my little smiley face. Even the little faces have glittery accents. So I just love glitter. My husband thinks I roll in it because somehow I get it in my eyes. I get it in my hair. Even after I shower, I'm still sparkly because I think it's on the towel. I don't know. I love glitter. So when she suggested this class, I said, oh my goodness, wait until these people see it. And we had 13 people total that came to class yesterday and totally enjoyed it, I think. So many great ideas for the use of glitter. And not only glitter, but also shimmer. So there's a couple of accents, embellishments, tools that we have in our catalog that make this anything sparkly so easy to do. So I am going to talk a little bit about all of them. We made 4 cards. There are so many techniques. You could make 6 or 8 different cards and use all the different techniques. But I'm going to show you the ones that we did. And I'm even going to show you a little bit about how we did them. Our basic card was always 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So, and this was the card I showed you on Facebook. Now, I don't know if you have seen cards with this technique, but this card is so beautiful. So it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then the next layer is 4 by 5 1/4. And I don't know if you remember from last week when I was talking about paper basics, that is usually, especially for a beginner, but I still use it today. That's a standard measurement for a mat for the card, 4 by 5 1/4. So, and then the layer on top of that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So I bet you're wondering how I got this so sparkly. Well, I had to go out of the catalog, out of Stampin' Up's catalog, to get a tool or something to use so that I could attach this glitter. We used to have, did I put it here on the table? I'm not sure that I did, but I don't know if you remember, but when we were still partnered with Sizzix, they had Sizzix sheets. They were adhesive sheets, super sticky. Usually stuck to my hands more than they stuck to the paper by the time I got everything done. But these sheets were great for attaching to the back of these small die cuts, and you could put them on so that you wouldn't have to glue them. Well, it turns out that if you use a whole piece of it, a whole 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, you have a super sticky adhesive sheet, and you can add glitter to that. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. And last night, a couple of my people ended up cutting off where the sentiment is and not covering up the sentiment. And I really liked that. So what I prepared today, where did I put that? Okay, I see it. The little pieces, I actually left the spot for the sentiment blank. So when you are cutting this adhesive sheet, I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to get on to the next cards. But this is what this looks like. This is a big roll of adhesive sheet. I got this from Simon Says Stamp, and it was about 40 bucks, and it's going to last me forever if you see how thick that is. This is 5 inches wide. The one that Ruth brought was 4 inches wide. So of course, the narrower you are, the cheaper it's going to be. But 5 inches is about perfect, especially if I'm going to cover up this entire card, because remember I said it was 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. 4 inches would probably be better in hindsight now, because then I can leave my sentiment blank. So anyway, when you're cutting this adhesive sheet, before I forget, in case I forget, you're going to want scissors that are adhesive resistant, so that the adhesive doesn't stick, because my wonderful scissors need a serious case of Goo Gone because they are so sticky. So just when you're doing that, in case I forget to say it, you want scissors that are adhesive resistant. So anyway, that's our first card, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. This is our second card here. And this card also uses glitter. What we did with this one was the shimmery crystal effects. And that's this stuff. And you're going to use that, and you're going to kind of pull in, I can't do this backwards, but you're going to pull it in from, squeeze relatively hard, pull in from the branches. And because it's shimmery, it has the glitter built in. I'm going to show you that in a second. So that's the second card. The third card is this one. And of course you've got your shiny effects. I don't know if you can see it from the ribbon, the metallic ribbon, which I love. I've got my cheater sheet inside. That's what you see peeking through. But maybe when I go down, you'll see this a little bit better. But this one, we actually sprayed with shimmer spray. So we're going to use the shimmer paint and our spritzer, and we're going to spray the whole thing, and I'm going to show you that too. So that's our third card. And our fourth card is this card right here, and that's also beautiful. And I have to tell you, I was covering up kind of a mistake, which is why the deer is there. But I think it's a nice accent. But if you see at the bottom, we have sparkle paper, the sparkle glimmer paper. And by the time you cut that with the Winter Woods die, it actually, oh, Ruth is looking for me on that page. But anyway, I'm there. She'll find me. There she is. Hi, Ruth. So anyway, by the time you cut with this die, it's less than 1 inch. And I'm going to show you what I used to create my template for the bottom of all of these. And this one, because I did it too high, you see my trees behind here are too high, I actually put the deer in front. So this is the last card. These cards, all 4 of these cards, and I'm going to show you how we did it. Hopefully I do a good job, especially with Ruth watching, because she is the master of this class, and I was a student in the afternoon class, and then I helped with the evening class, so I think I've got the techniques down, but if I don't, we're going to talk to Ruth later. Anyway, the 2 stamp sets that we use are the Winter Woods stamp set, and I heard from somebody that it's back ordered, and it's it's such a shame, because this is a fabulous stamp set. So this is the big tree that we used, and a lot of times when you see this big tree, like this one right here, is also that tree, as is that tree. But what you do is you just stamp the top of the tree and mask the bottom, and that's how you get your smaller trees. Anyway, so Winter Woods is the first one, and it has dies to match. And I'm going to show you that tree in a second. Maybe I'll get right to that one first. But these are the dies that you use to make that tree. And then I'm going to show you what we did with the different techniques for that. Because besides the sparkle glimmer paper, there's actually 2 things that you could do to add sparkle to the trees. And I'm going to talk about both of them in just a second. So anyway, Winter Woods was the first stamp set that we used for the trees. And the other one, we call this the Moose Tree. This is Mary Moose. This is such a great tree. This tree is this tree. It's on the D block, I believe. And so it's a nice size, a nice small tree, but my goodness, it has I love the branches, and I think it's one of the distinctive trees, so that you actually, both of these may be distinctive stamps, where you can actually see all the detail of the branches. Okay, so now that I have kind of talked to you about that, and about the basic card. So the basic card, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Your matte base is Night of Navy, 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then all of these cards, all of these are 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. So all of them, if you notice, all of them, I did sponging on them. So there are actually, I don't know if you can see it, and when you're down, you'll see a little bit better, but 2 different colors that we used for sponging, and it's totally up to you. We used the Night of Navy ink for stamping all of our trees, but for the sponging, if you want a night sky or, you know, a dark stormy sky, Night of Navy is fabulous. If you want a lighter, brighter, maybe a morning sky, an afternoon, a winter afternoon sky, this is Pacific Point. I wonder if Balmy Blue would be beautiful, and maybe even Blueberry Bushel. Those, you're gonna have to try all of them to get the blue that you like, depending on the look that you're looking for. So anyway, oh, I'm losing all of my pieces to the inside of the card, so I'm not sure what I was thinking about doing. But anyway, let me flip you down now. There we go. So welcome, Ruth. Thanks for sharing this fabulous class. Everybody is going to love seeing what we did in the class. So I kind of showed the cards, but now I'm going to show you how I did them. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to flip you down. Before I forget, if you like this video, don't forget to like the video. If you like my page already, that's great, but like my video too, because that way you'll get more updates when I post. And here is the host code for a couple more days. So let me put my light down here a little bit brighter so you can see, and we are going to get to work. So all of these cards, I did you see these cards, all of these, let me go a little bit closer so you can see. Make sure you can see, there you go. Okay, all of these cards, we left a space at the bottom, either for the sentiment or in this case, for the sparkle glimmer paper. So it's always about 1 inch. For this one, if you want to have, if you don't forget that if you start out with a 1 inch piece of glimmer paper, by the time you cut it with the Winter Woods die, and this is what that die, the slope looks like. So by the time you cut it, you're going to have less than 1 inch. So either keep that in mind or start with a piece bigger than 1 inch for this sparkle glimmer paper. Let me put this here for a second. So I already cut my sparkle glimmer paper with the die. If you put it on the back, then your area to the left where your trees are going to be showing is going to be lower. So cut with the paper facing down when you cut with your die. So I have here, let me find my piece of paper already. I already started with the sponging with this card. So when I am doing sponging, if you remember, I've already got my sponges marked. So I used a little tab punch and I marked my sponges. So I'm always using blue sponges with the blue coordinating blue ink. I'm not going to put red in my blue or blue in my red or green in my yellow or whatever and have a color that I don't want on there. But anyway, so remember when we're sponging, we are going to start by dabbing the sponge. See, I'm dabbing the sponge on the thing. And I just re-inked this morning, so it may end up being really heavy. So anyway, the other thing I want to point out before I forget, don't forget this beautiful holiday grid paper. But I'm going to make it nice and dirty. So when you're going to sponge, you're going to start off the paper. See how dark that is? I don't want that on my paper. So start off the paper, and then I'm going to show you what I use for my template. But anyway, start off the paper and then just in a circular motion, just keep adding ink. Now, don't forget that you can always add ink, but it's really, really hard to take it away. There is a way, and I'm going to show you at the end one thing that I did if I get too dark with any of this. But anyway, when Ruth did the class yesterday, she gave us strips of this paper, and I had it set aside to show you. Oh yes, this is the paper. It's like almost like a Post-it note, not as tacky piece of adhesive sheet. And you peel it back, and since I am having trouble peeling it back all the time, I'm not going to do that. But what I did was I took a piece of a couple of Post-it notes, stuck them together, and drew a line 1 inch down. And I actually drew it on both sides so that what I can do is, if I'm putting this on my paper, I can go like this, just like that, and I can see where my 1 inch is. That's easy to see with the wider, but with a narrower piece of paper, it's hard to see where that 1 inch mark is. So I did the line on both sides. And the benefit of this is that when you use that Frisket paper, it has like a waxy finish, so the ink ends up all over you. So hopefully it's not going to end up all over me with the Post-it note as much. But anyway, what I'm doing is, oh, but I did the wrong side. What I'm going to do is, I want to save that spot for my glimmer paper. But see, I already have a blotch 2 blue, but that's okay because I'm going to be adding on this one, I'm going to be adding the tree. So what I did, I kind of leave like a bright area in the middle. And you can add ink in the middle, you can do whatever you want, but this is what I chose to do. So I've got my white area. I'm going to attach my glimmer paper. Oh, see, I did do it backwards. I should have done it upside down so that, anyway, what I'm going to do is stamp my trees on this side this time, I think. So this card used the Winter Woods tree. So the Winter Woods tree is a big tree. So we see that. We've got our big tree. So let me put that here, put this back on, and I'm going to show you how I did this. Because my low side with my glimmer paper is on this side, I'm going to stamp my trees on this side, at least for now. So what you're going to do first is you're going to stamp your first tree, and you're going to stamp it straight on. So it's going to take full strength. See, that's a nice, see, like this, and it's inked up, so it might be too heavy. Maybe I didn't want that heavy, but anyway, our second tree, I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp down further in the middle. So it's going to be lower, because you kind of want it in the distance. You want some nice, so you want it to look like it's further away, so harder to see. But anyway, I'm not doing a great job of explaining, but I'm trying. So here we've got our sparkle paper, and maybe what I'll do is take a little bit more off at the bottom. I'll figure that out. But anyway, what I did for this tree right here, this is the same stamp. Let me put this off for a second. This is the same Winter Woods stamp. I'm going to stamp it twice. One there on a bigger, wider piece, and then a second one on a narrower piece. And we're going to, I didn't do a great job. It doesn't matter if you stamp it or if you don't, but it does give it a little bit of, you can see a little bit more of the branches. But anyway, so I've already done this tree. So let me see. Here is my tree that I've already done. So this one is cut out. This one I could cut out with a large die. This is just the outline. This is going to be the back of my tree. But of course I want a 3-dimensional tree. So what I'm going to do with the second die is cut out the second stamped image. So, and that, because of what it has little, those are little knives. It's not just embossing, it actually cuts the branches. And that gives you, I don't know if you can see this, see a little bit the white through it, but anyway, that gives you your individual branches. What you will do is add glue in between those branch areas. What you don't want to do is glue down the branches. If you see this on this one, my branches all lift up because you want it to have some dimension. So what I did was I put the glue in between, just little dots of glue in between. If you want to use mini dimensionals, you can, but even the small ones you might want to cut in half because it's really going to be hard so that you don't keep these branches sticking down, if that makes sense. Okay, so like I said, let me put this off for a second because through magic I've already done this. What you can do 2 things to get the sparkle on this card. So the first thing you could do is, and that's what this card is, this one is actually shimmer paste. So we've got our sparkle glimmer paper and then we've got our shimmer paste. And that shimmer paste, if you remember, it comes in a jar like this. And you either have to use it really fast or figure out a way to keep it airtight because it dries solid as a rock, almost like plaster, if you don't keep it contained. So what you are going to do with that is, I went up to my paintbrushes up in my room. This is almost like a stencil brush. You need a nice stiff brush. And with that, you're going to put that in the, I meant to do this card last because I really want to wash out these brushes before they dry solid as a rock. But anyway, you're going to just dab that on your branches. See, I'm going to have to order more shimmer paste. But anyway, if you see this, what I'm doing at the ends of my branches, I'm adding this shimmer paste. It's nice and thick, and I think you may be able to see even the glitter in there. So anyway, just keep doing that to all the branches. So that's your first option for providing sparkle to that tree. I actually have a second tree. It just fell on the floor here. A second thing you could do if you don't have shimmer paste or don't want to use your shimmer paste is on your silicone mat here. This mat is so that your sticky doesn't stick to when you get adhesive on your paper, then you put a card down, your card sticks to the adhesive. Put your adhesive on here, and then when it dries, you can actually just rub it off. It's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So anyway, we've got our silicone sheet, and what I did here for this card was I had stuck just a dab of glue, and probably more than that, but I'm just going to show you an example. This is another paintbrush of mine that I took, and what you're going to do, and I'm going to do this to another part of my tree, you're just going to kind of paint these branches with your paintbrush and the multi-purpose glue. Just kind of paint the branches with the adhesive, and then what you're going to do is add some sparkle. So when I did this one, I think I did this one with Dazzling Diamonds. There are two things of, I'm going to put this aside again so it doesn't get stuck, but I'm just showing you briefly how I put this card together, and then I will finish. But anyway, there are two glitters in the catalog. So there is the Dazzling Diamonds, and the Dazzling Diamonds, it's much finer glitter. It's in the regular catalog. I have always been in love with this stuff. This is the stuff that I really, really love to use the most. Much finer, and it's almost iridescent. It's got the blues and the greens. It's just beautiful glitter. But in the new catalog, in the holiday catalog, they came out with this glitter. This is called Ice Stampin' Glitter. So Ice Stampin' Glitter is just like little chunks of ice. That's what it is. It's not as iridescent. It's also not as fine. So when I put my glitter on here, yeah, I think I used the Dazzling Diamonds on this yesterday. I can see the blues and greens and everything. It's much finer. This one, I don't know if you can see it, it's a little bit chunkier. And I think I like that better on this tree, to be perfectly honest. So anyway, I'm going to figure out how to finish this card with one of these two trees. But before I forget, when I put glitter on here, if you pour it, I didn't do a very good job pouring it back, but if you make a crease in your paper, it makes it easier to kind of direct that back into the jar. Because this is a coarser glitter, it's the little pieces are bigger, so you go through it a lot faster. This one is so fine, you can make so many cards, and it's going to still feel like you have lots of glitter left. A little goes a long way on this one. This one, I think I've made 3 of those cards that I'm going to show you with the adhesive sheet using this one, and I don't have as much glitter left. But anyway, so there's the two things. What I did before I put the glitter on here, I did this off camera, but I used my embossing buddy, so it makes it so that it doesn't, the glitter still with static doesn't fit. So anyway, I've got my card here. I'm going to finish that card. Like I said, I'm probably going to cut that off a little bit, but I'll figure that out. I'll post this on my Facebook page later. But anyway, what we're going to do is attach this card right on there. We're going to attach it to the blue like this. You see how I'm doing this? And then onto here, and voila, we have our first card done. So I'll post it completed where I've actually figured out how to cover up that again, because I did it backwards. I guess I do want to do it with the glitter face up so that I have the swirl on the right side. Okay, so we've got that. That's our first card. And if you wanted to do a sentiment, what we did was we did a small sentiment, probably from Itty Bitty Christmas, I'm thinking, but I'm not positive. Anyway, stamp it with Stays On onto the vellum. And you want to do Stays On because if you do it the memento, you're going to wipe it right off with your thumb. Stamp it with Stays On, and then you're going to punch it out with one of our punches. And then just take a glue dot under the sentiment and tack it down on one side. I actually tacked it down on both sides, but so you're still seeing most of the sparkly glitter paper there. So anyway, that's our first card, and I hope you like that. That's from Dashing Deer if you need a cover-up like I did for my happy mistake. So my next card I'm going to do, and I think I didn't put, yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do with this card is, once again, I have, yeah, I think I wanted to do, we're going to do this card next. So I did this with the Pacific Point ink, and I stamped my trees. So like I said, we're always stamping our trees in Night of Navy, but I've already done my sponging around, and this one again uses the big tree from Winter Woods. So that's this big tree. And what you're going to do, I'm sure I put my, see, this is what I said, how I did it over here. And you see that I did the back, I did it too dark. I didn't like that. So I turned it over. And I do that with a lot of my things, with a lot of my cards. If I'm not happy with the first time, there's a second side to most of your paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to stamp one large tree kind of in the center. So that's my first tree. Perfect. Looks like, because it's the Post-it, it's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to have more of a ridge. So maybe next time I will move my paper down a little bit. But the next thing I'm going to do, let me move my, I'm going to stamp it again, but I don't want this tree to be as dark because it's kind of going to be in the background. Actually, I'm going to do one more tree, and like I said, I'm going to do this with the point, lower. So it's the same tree. Who would know that this is such a big tree? See, it's the same tree, but I use just the top of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp two trees, and I'm going to stamp them off. So I'm going to stamp this on my paper, and I'm going to stamp one, kind of like right there. Oh, I like that. That's better. Stamp it off again, and I'm going to stamp one right there. There we go. And that's beautiful. So, beautiful, except maybe a little heavy-handed with the ink because I had just re-inked it. But anyway, that is the card all stamped. So like I said, I sponged it with Pacific Point, and then I stamped it with the Winter Woods cards. So what I'm going to do, I have my Stamparatus already set up. Let me take off my stencil, my template for my bottom. And what I did was I laid this out. This sentiment is from Snowman Season. I love that Merry Christmas. Just so I am kind of staying in screen, I'm going to take off the this cover. There we go. Try not to get the ink that I have on here onto my card, but that is pretty close. Okay, I've inked it up, and if I had put a magnet there, if I didn't do a great job inking it up, I could actually re-ink it. But there's so much ink on this stamp that I'm not surprised that I got the whole thing. So if you see that, that's what I have already done. Okay, I'm going to move this off. So I've already got it lined up, and I could do 50 or 100 cards using this Stamparatus and that sentiment all set up to go. Now what I'm going to do for this card, this is going to be my shimmer card. So I have my shimmer paint. I have to close up my stuff so I don't have a big mess for everybody to see here. Okay, this is my magic box. And in this magic box, I have my spritzer. Now my spritzer, they're pretty inexpensive. There's 3 of them in a pack and they're like $5, $8. I can't remember, but they're really inexpensive. What I did was I added some of the Frost White shimmer paint. And do I have that here on the table? It looks like I do not right now. But anyway, it's just a little jar of shimmer paint. You know what? I'm going to show you what the jar looks like so you know. Hang on one second. Here it is, right where I made my thing. This is the shimmer paint. This is Frost White. It's got like a little ball inside so it stays, so you can shake it up really good. Then what I did was I added a little bit of alcohol to this, just so I had something to clean off my paint with. I added a little bit of alcohol. I'm just showing you how I mixed up this shimmer paint. It says to use like 3 drops of this. What I did was kind of shook off the excess alcohol. I kind of dipped this in here, covered it, and then put it back in. And I figured each time that I dipped in there was essentially a drop. So anyway, so I've got my mixture, and then I filled the rest of this up with rubbing alcohol again. So when you have it, it's going to settle to the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to settle to the bottom. So just mix it up really well. So now I have my card here ready to spray. So this one is going to be our shimmer spray card. And all I'm going to do is aim down. I'm so afraid of getting this in my eyes and going the wrong direction, but I'm going to spray. And it doesn't take much. You can see that it's kind of curling up. The alcohol has hit the card. It's damp, but because it's alcohol, it doesn't take long for that to actually dry again. So let me move my huge magic box. I think I need a smaller one. And this, as it dries, and I'll show you that in a minute, you can see a little bit of the shimmer. You'll see even more in a minute. As it dries, it's going to flatten back out. So let me put this second card off to the side for now, just so that I can let that dry, and I'll go on to card number 3. So card number 3 we're going to do is actually with this adhesive paper that I was talking about. So you can get this adhesive paper online. Let's see, you can get it from scrapbooking.com. You can use the Sizzix sheets from last year that we had. They were like 6 inches by 12 inches and cut that down. Or you can, I got mine from Simon Says Stamp. And this, like I said, this is what my adhesive roll looks like, except I cut up a couple of sheets, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game here. What I'm going to do is put this on my silicone mat. Remember I was saying that when I do, well, let me stamp first and then I'll do that. Okay, we're going to use on this one, we are going to use the moose tree. So this is the little tree. And like I said, it's a really nice little tree. We're going to stamp with the Night of Navy. And once again, I'm going to use my template. And like I said, I'm going to move this down a tiny bit. This is my inch. I'm going to move it so that this is actually showing a little bit. You can see I've already sponged, but because my Post-it note is so thick, I've moved it down because my ink will actually stamp better. Whatever we're doing with all of these, we can cover up that line with the ribbon that we're going to do. But anyway, so I got my Night of Navy. And when I'm stamping that, I'm going to stamp the first one off here to the right. We're going to do it. I am going to keep my tree trunk a little bit on the Post-it note, but not much. off to the right, full strength, and the full tree. So that's my first one. Beautiful. And now it's going to come out below the line, but that's okay because I've got my ribbon that's going to cover that up. So the second tree, we are going to do again full strength, but we're going to do it a tiny bit lower. We're going to add a little bit of just by variety, just to keep people interested. If it's all the same line, it's not interesting. You want to vary it up a little bit. And I'm stamping off of the paper. So, because when you look at trees, you know, see it's off the paper a little bit. That's nice. But if you look at my stamp, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a line of ink because it was, oh, there you go. Right there, you can see that there's still ink on the paper, on the stamp. You don't want that line. So even though I'm going to stamp my next one's off, I'm going to re-ink the thing and stamp it on my scrap here. So we've done that. And then what I'm going to do is a little bit lower again. I've stamped off. And there's a little bit of a blotch, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because we're going to cover this up with the glitter paper anyway. So it's not going to work so well if you're not covering it up with the glitter paper, but once again, I'm stamping off. I'm going to go low. There must be something on the stamp because it's leaving a little bit of a mark. But anyway, I don't really care for that, but it's going to be okay. People aren't going to see it. So you know what I might do is ink it up again. It's not going to be perfect, but a little. Yeah, there must be something under the paper, on the paper there. So that's not perfect. But what I'm going to show you is here, I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus again. I've already got the sentiment lined up from before. Let's bring in the Stamparatus and ink up my sentiment. Bring that down. Wish I didn't have these blotches to show you this technique, but it is what it is. And now let me bring in my silicone mat, and this is where I'm going to cover up with the adhesive sheet. And I've already cut my adhesive sheet pretty close to what I want. Pretty close to what I want. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to line that up. I'm going to just put this adhesive sheet over top of here. And then because it's on this silicone mat, it's not going to stick to that. Then I'm going to take my adhesive resistant scissors. Let's cut this off a little bit. Even though they're resistant, this is so sticky that it still wants to stick to my scissors. But anyway, okay, we've got that. I'm going to save that little piece so that I can actually use it to cut out little, what do I want to cut out? Maybe little words or something. Okay, so now I've got my adhesive sheet on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's my adhesive sheet. Let me move my silicone mat out of the way. And I'm going to put this here on my glitter paper. And I'm going to use Dazzling Diamonds this time. Last time I used the ice. I'm going to use Dazzling Diamonds. And I'm going to cover this sheet with the Dazzling Diamonds. Oh, and look at that. Isn't that so pretty? So you can see all the shimmer from all that glitter. Let me pour this back in. Put this off to the side, cover this up before I make a mess and spill it. And then what I'm going to do next is I've got my ribbon already cut and ready to go. Someplace. Okay, let me cut some ribbon. I'm going to put the ribbon right there across the bottom. And what I'm going to actually do with this piece of ribbon, I'm going to just knot it. We're going to knot it. We're going to put that right across. You don't see the line of the adhesive sheet. And look at that, it's ready to go. Then I've got my card right here. Here, let me actually finish this one. I'm going to, here's my snail. I'm going to put some snail right on the back here so that my ribbon has something to stick to. That's longer than I would have normally used, but because we're on TV and I'm doing the whole thing, that's what we're going to do. You can, see I've got a little bit of an edge where it's not stuck. You can just kind of fold that back if it's longer than, just kind of fold it back over the edge like I'm doing there. Okay, so I'm going to add my this, and we're going to put it on our 4 by 5 1/4 inch mat like this. And then we're going to add that. I usually use glue, not snail. But for the camera, since it's not so messy, I'm going to use the snail. Okay, and here's our, well, what actually should be is our third card. And I didn't stick it down straight. Let me do that better so that I'm happy with the card, and I will use that for a Christmas card. But I will figure out something to cover up there. But anyway, you get the idea of what that card is. This is the prettier one. So look at how beautiful that is. Oh, I did use dazzling diamonds on that too. I see that. Okay, so that's my second card, or third card. This one I think is actually dry. See how I said it was going to flatten out? I don't know if you can see a little bit from the light. You can see the shimmer. So this is our card that I just did with the shimmer spray. And this is another one. I'm actually, boy, I had everything all cut and ready to go with the ribbon, but let's do this again. What I'm going to do is attach this ribbon behind. Like I said, there's two sides to everything, so nobody knows that I've already stamped or did this on the back and I wasn't happy with the way I sponged it. So there we go. Got that. And then what I'm going to do is just take this piece and just tie a little knot. So between the silvery shimmer from the ribbon and the shimmer spray that we just used, this is going to be one shiny, beautiful card. And in case nobody, I'm sure everybody has used snail before, but if you haven't, it has these ridges. I was showing people at the breast cancer event the other day, and thank you to everybody that came. We raised over almost $8,000. So thank you to all of you who are Stamping Up breast cancer with us every year. So we have this card, and I just want to tidy up my tails right there. I don't like the frayed edges. Okay, so that's that. You don't need a ton of tape to get this to stick. But what I will say about this adhesive, and maybe next week I'll talk about adhesive, but what I do want to say about this adhesive is you don't need a ton to get it to stick, but you will find that sometimes, especially if you live in areas that have big ranges in temperature, like cold winters and hot summers, i.e. New England, snail is not the most permanent method of getting cards to stick together. You will want the glue because it will, if it dries, you know, the winter when it's cold, it's very dry. The summers when they're warm, it's more humid, and then the adhesive, it loses its sticky. So anyway, so I've got my second card. So I've done my first card with the adhesive sheet and the glitter. So like I said, there's the two glitters. You can use the ice glitter and you go through it a lot faster, or you can use the dazzling diamonds, and you can see that I still have quite a bit left. This one is the shimmer spray. You use the shimmer paint and the alcohol with the spritzer. Our third card, which I did over here, and it's should be ready to put together just about. Anyway, this one, don't forget, I used the sparkle glimmer paper, and I either painted on the glue with a paintbrush and the glue on the silicone, just a little glob on the silicone sheet, kind of painted the branches and layered that on my base. Like, oh, it's already layered. I'm sorry, I already did this one and glued it together. But don't forget, don't glue down your little branches. So that's my third card, or you can use the shimmer paste, the embossing paste, and it dries even more with more definition and leaves the, you see the glitter in the shimmer. So that's card number 3. So let's do card number 4, and I'm going to show you again how I emboss this. And this card is actually another method of putting the glue on the trees and getting the glittery effect. So here we are going to, I've got my card. This one is ready to go. I'm going to try something different with this too. I'm going to go, this isn't something that Ruth talked about last night, but I want to try it. So I've got my Whisper White cardstock, 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And I'm going to stick on my, there's my sheet, my template, okay, so I can sponge. I also punched a 1-inch circle. Oh, see, I was going to show you that if you wanted to, you could make a little mark on here too to see where to put it. So let's do this on the back. Okay, here we go. I punched out a 1-inch circle, and I used the little sticky part from the Post-it note, and I'm going to put this kind of, let's put it like right here, right in the middle of the paper. So I punched a 1-inch circle, and what I'm going to do now is take my Night of Navy ink again, and I'm going to sponge a dark sky. So starting off the paper, remember you don't want it so dark on the paper, so I'm starting off the paper, and in a circular motion I'm going to add this ink. I'm going to sponge it on. So I'm going to do it like that. Let's do it like that. We're going to come down a little bit behind the trees. These trees, we're going to see it lower, so we're going to come down a little bit behind. And I'm actually going to add more ink. I want it to look stormy, dark. I love walking in weather like this with the dogs when it's really, really dark and intense. So we're going to see how intense right now when I take off. Ah, there's my moon. There you go. Isn't that fabulous? Okay, so I'm going to leave this template on. And what I'm going to do, and I didn't do it on my other card, I realized, but I'm going to, first I'm going to stamp my trees. And this, once again, is the moose tree. And remember, when I say the moose tree, I'm talking about Mary Moose. It's just got a great, great tree in it. Okay, so I'm going to stamp my first one again. I think, let's hope that it's not going to end up, let's see, full strength off to the right. So we'll do it like that. Ah, beautiful. Okay. And then I'm going to do another tree off to the side, kind of halfway off the paper. Make sure I'm still in the camera vision. Full strength. Then I'm going to do a tree. I'm going to stamp it off once. And I'm going to do this kind of, let's do it like that. So it's stamped off. It's not as intense. I think it's my Post-it note that's the problem. So let's do it like this. It's the Post-it note that seems to be the problem. And there must be because of the ridge. Let's stamp it again. Oh, that's better. Okay, and one more. I'm going to stamp it off. Like that. I like that. I may even do one more in the middle. Kind of down. Can't even see it, but there you go. I've got my trees already stamped. And I've got a little extra something there. Don't know where that came from, but anyway. So now what I'm going to do is, once again, I am going to pull out my Stamparatus. already set up for me. I'm going to ink my Stamparatus plate with the sentiment from, like I said, that was from Snowman Season. And I should be using the magnet in case I didn't do a good job, but I know that it's going to come out so good because this is such a well-inked ink pad this morning again. So I got that. I've got my tree there. So now what I'm going to do, let me put this off to the side for a second. Now what I'm going to do is my fourth method of adding glue for you. And that is with the shimmery crystal effects. And this is another thing that is new in the catalog, the holiday catalog this year. Boy, oh boy, am I making a mess with my sheet. We're just going to turn it over. Okay, so kind of shake your crystal effects down. I mean, it'll shake up the glitter in it too, but it'll also shake it to the bottom of your point. And you're going to have to squeeze a little bit hard, but what you're going to do is squeeze and bring in towards the middle from the sides of the branches. You're going to bring in this crystal effects. And I should have done this one earlier so you could have seen, because you're not going to see how this is going to dry. I'm going to have to put this on my Facebook page later. You're not going to see how pretty this is when it dries, because right now it just looks like little gobs of glue. So I'm pulling down and squeezing at the same time, and I'm just kind of making lines, kind of following the branches. So I'm not sure if I'm in the camera to do that or not, but so we're going to pull down, pull down. There we go. So I've got that coated. I'm going to have to set that off to the side because I really don't want this. It's not ready to add to my sheet. You can see a little bit already. You can see a little bit of the shimmer. But this is the card that I did with that. And it dried. And you can see, now you can see a lot more of the shimmer in that. So I've already stamped this one. I forgot to stamp the sentiment. That was what I was going to say. What I could do, and I don't want to do this now because I just realized I put the glue on, but if I didn't like the way I sponged this, it was too dark, too intense, what I could do is take my white Stampin' pad and I could kind of soften that a little bit with a sponge dauber, which I have on my table. Oh boy, everything must have... Oh, there's my ribbon. Found my ribbon, everybody. I have a sponge dauber that I had on the table. Oh, here it is. Here's my sponge dauber. I could take this white ink, and what I could do is kind of soften. See how I'm softening that a little bit. I'm going to kind of smooth out that blue. I don't really want to do that to my, over my, make sure you kind of clean it off before you bring the ink back, the dauber back to the white pad, because I really don't want blue ink on my white pad, right? So we're gonna go like this. And like I said, I've already put glue on, so I'm not doing a great job, but I'm kind of smoothing out those areas. If there's an area where I don't like how I sponged, smoothing it out. And I could even bring it a little bit to the bottom like that. I probably wanted to do that before I stamped because I really don't want that inky, but I could always go over it again with the Stamparatus because it's perfectly lined up. But anyway, this is my last card, and I'll put it together and I'll put it on the Facebook page later with the ribbon around it and everything when it's all dry. But so now you see, I'm going to flip you back for a second. Now you see, oh yes, Ruth thinks maybe the polymer tree needs the cushion mat. It could. I honestly think it stamped better, I think, once I got rid of the double layer of the sticky strip, the Post-it note. I think it was too wide. But anyway, too raised up. But anyway, I kind of like that. And oh, it's so fun. And then I could even somehow dot some snowflakes in the sky somehow. But anyway, so we have, thank you, Kathy. We have so many ways of adding glitter and sparkle and shimmer to our pages. So, and that's what I wanted to show you today. We have the ice Stampin' Glitter. We have the Dazzling Diamond Stampin' Glitter. We have our sparkle glimmer paper, which is the wide one. Remember, we use this, the wide paper here. So we've got sparkle glimmer paper, and that's beautiful. I used embossing paste, so we've got our embossing paste that we could use, and that has sparkle in it. We have the shimmer paste, and you add that to alcohol and spritz it on, and that adds sparkle. We have, well, that's all I can, oh, and then the shimmery crystal effects, and that's the new one, and that's what I used just now to kind of draw in the branches, and that even has glitter in it. So I'm sure there are even more ideas out there for doing it. I hope you have fun with this. If you have any questions, please just reach out to me, and I would be glad to talk to you about these things. I am going to post them on the Facebook page, or in my group as well. I'll post some of them, and then I'll just talk a little bit about the card recipe. So thanks so much for joining me again. Happy Halloween to everybody in, that's probably United States, maybe Canada. I was going to say Halloween, holiday. That's the word I'm looking for. So happy Halloween to everybody. I have to spend the afternoon putting together my paper pumpkin treats for everybody. And I will see you next week. And like I said, I think I'm going to get back to the basics again, and I'm going to talk about adhesives since we have so many great adhesives and different uses for them. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend and keep stamping. Keep sparkling, I should say. I have to say one more thing. Ruth said last night that I should send out an email to everybody. Be prepared to be dazzled. And that's how I should have opened this, because that's what this all is. It's dazzling. Love you. Bye.